Welcome to The Side Quest, a weekly show on the Grep Beat podcast where we interview interesting people adding to the North Carolina startup community. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Oh, wow, Joe, what are you reading there?
Oh, hello. Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, I guess we're on air. For those podcast listeners, Sonali just caught me off guard because I was just reading this really awesome book that I've been following. It's called Let's Go Slow-Mo. Really, it's got a cool twist. I thought it was a management leadership book about how bullying is good in the workplace, but no, it actually takes a very, very different turn about how we should get together, know our differences. But enough of that. We'll maybe perhaps come back to that, Sonali. Hello. It is, I never know the date. It is April 28th, but we will publish this a little bit later. And my name is Joe Colopy. I am the Grumpy Godfather. With me, as always, is Sonali of Primordial Ventures. Sonali, how's it going?
It's going great. It's my birthday. So
happy birthday.
Thank you. Thanks, Joe. A little bit disappointed that time is passing in this way, but you know, another year, another trip around the sun, feeling good.
Yeah, but do you feel you're not quite at your quarter life crisis yet?
I think I'm in my mid-20s officially though.
So how old are you now?
I'm 24. But my friend told me it was 24 to 26. That's your mid-20s.
Yeah. I guess so. I mean, the quarter life crisis is when you hit 25.
25.
And that's where you struggle with all those kind of issues.
Yeah, stay tuned for next year.
So good luck. Yeah, stay tuned. Hope you all follow the side quest because next year we're really going to have a show when Sonali turns 25. Well, very good. That's very exciting. Do you have anything planned for your birthday?
Hopefully getting some peace and quiet. Maybe picking up a Whole Foods cupcake. I feel like that's become a tradition now every year.
Okay. Well, just so you know, that is about what I look forward to on my birthday many decades later. Well, without further ado, we have a wonderful guest. This week we have Paul Rava of Roboro. And without further ado, why don't we bring him on?
Let's do it.
Good morning. Good to see you both.
Hey, Paul. How's it going?
Doing very well. Happy birthday, Sonali.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
Incredible.
Paul, do you have any birthday traditions in your household?
Ooh, it's a very good question. So my wife will tell you that on my birthday every year, I, for some reason, just get very quiet and don't want anyone to talk about it. So that's the closest thing I can come to. But
wow, that's really fun. Really inspiring.
Really resonate with that, Paul.
Yep. With two young kiddos at home, it's fun to think about how every year can compound with some fun and learning and find ways to celebrate. So we'll keep trying.
Do you do a cake with candles?
We do, yes. My daughter's about to turn 8, and she asked if she could have a smash cake this year. You know how 1-year-olds usually will get a smash cake, which you'll just smash away at or put your face into.
I've never heard that. I mean, I know that tradition with 1-year-olds, right? Just out of necessity, but I've never heard that is referred to as smash cake. Is it a certain type of cake that one makes that they can smash?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think it's anything that's going to make a big mess, that's going to make the kid have fun. And I've seen it with, babies, 1-year-olds. I've never heard almost 8-year-old ask for it. And frankly, I didn't have a good answer because I was like, I don't know, but it sounds kind of fun. So we'll see where we end up on that one.
That sounds legendary. Honestly, shout out to your 8-year-old. I think
So Sonali, when you were growing up, perhaps now, did your family or does your family have birthday traditions when you're at home in terms of cake or ice cream or certain food or I don't know, some other ritual?
So I'm a twin. So our birthdays are always, 2 cakes and doing the entire birthday.
You'd actually get two cakes?
2 cakes. Yep.
Because everyone has slight preferences, or is it really, really important that you guys have your own individuality?
Yeah, equality was really important. I don't think we could have coexisted with 1 cake, to be frank. I think there would have been issues. So we got
I saw a little blip on the internet where one person had their twin in their phone as their contact, and they had the name listed under spare parts.
That's a good one.
So that's a good one. That's a pro tip. Well, happy birthday to you, Sonali, and your brother, correct? Right?
Yeah.
So Very, very
Amazing.
exciting. Well, cool. Well, in addition to birthday celebrations, we have a lot of exciting things going on. And actually, I think on my phone, my Apple Watch, it popped up and said this is on the fitness app, which I haven't used or done anything with today. It was like International Dance Day. So
Wow.
I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means worldwide we should dance, or you should dance in maybe in a style that is outside of the United States.
Sounds great. Noted.
Sounds like we know how we're going to end this show. Is a little bit of dance. So
Joe's already dancing.
There we go. Well, so Paul, we there are lots we can talk about in terms of birthdays and dance and so forth, but we really want to kind of level set a little bit about what you're doing and what's happening at Roboro. Maybe just kind of just dig right into it. Tell us about what you do. What's your day job when you're not doing smash cakes and celebrating birthdays
or dancing? Exactly. No, that sounds great. So absolutely. So I'm one of the co-founders of Roboro, which, as you both know, is headquartered here in Raleigh. And public policy impacts every single organization and individual. So we built Roboro, which is an AI native platform to help give predictive and actionable legislative insights. So working from law firms to lobbyists to corporations to government agencies, being able to help identify, analyze, and help you shape the policy that's impacting you and your organization and goals today and into the future. And so it's been really fun to build this out over the last year plus, and just very proud of the team we've assembled and the way we're going to try and make a positive impact on how policy comes together.
So the users and clients of this, and kind of being one and the same, who would they be? And maybe you can give like one specific use case of why they would find this useful. And always the big question with all tech startups is, why couldn't this stuff be done 10 years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's such a good point. So as a little bit of background, me and my two other co-founders all came from highly regulated industries. And when we started Roboro, to your exact question, we were thinking about what was quite literally impossible 2 or 3 years ago that's now merely very difficult, that we feel uniquely positioned to benefit from and to drive into the future. And the way this industry works, so think about a lobbyist that might represent 50 clients. Think about a government affairs person at a corporation or a nonprofit. You think about monitoring what's going on throughout legislation. The rate of change and the complexity is unprecedented. And federal government's largely been gridlocked for a decade. Decisions are happening at a state level. But at a state level, there's 50 different state, legislative calendars, nuances, and an idea that's introduced in the morning can quite literally become law by the afternoon. Wow. So if you're trying to keep up on that, not just to understand what's going on, but because this has multi-million-dollar impacts on your organization now and in the future, there's a need to be the first to know, have real-time contextual information. And up until a couple of years ago, so much value is locked behind the language, right? And all the language across regulations, legislation, and policy. And so what we've been able to do is build this platform to unlock that language. And really what we say is build Iron Man suits for our partners so that we can let machines do what machines do well, so that the human can do the uniquely human aspects of their jobs. So lobbyists, law firms, right, as I mentioned, those are the type of groups that are going to be engaging with Roboro on a day-to-day basis to identify what's happening, identify who's behind it, and ultimately what they can do based on their goals.
So in the before times, how did lobbyists and law firms that support them are doing this, how did they do that? I mean, obviously they did it poorly, but they must have had, for example, folks in North Carolina must have been nightly watching what's happening in Virginia or South Carolina. I imagine there's like a neighbor element to it. People tend to watch neighboring states. Were they completely in the dark, or did they have just fleets of junior people doing it? Or they just, I don't know, hope for the best and just heard it.
Huge stacks of paper,
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. So one is a little bit of, it was all of the above. And the scary thing is, that wasn't 10 years ago. That's still happening a lot today. Mm-hmm. And part of this is in the industry, kind of broader legal tech policy adjacent, there's a wide variety of different willingness to adopt changes into the workflow. So we think about today, some of the top firms out there, 300, 400, 500 bills might be introduced in one state in one day alone. We have folks that are printing out copies of that, sitting around the conference table saying, all right, sit down, read this, understand how it impacts us or our clients, and let's hope we don't miss anything. Right. Yeah. And so when we think about legacy technology that's matching keywords, we think about Excel spreadsheets, we think about institutional knowledge of, hey, I generally know what's going on and I'll be at the state house. That should be good enough. We now are able to make that so 24/7 you have eyes and ears at the legislature so that you could go back to building the relationships, acting on that, being the first to know. And that change has been something we've been really proud to kind of meet folks where they are and show them the paradigm of how the future of work can look together.
No, I think that's a really great point. Is no one really likes sitting around flipping through reams and reams of paper. And I think using your tool, with the AI ability to kind of parse and discern, really get to use we humans in the ways that we should be used versus just droning through whatever minutia. So that's
crazy to think that with Roboro, there's finally that added element of transparency, or even just like giving policymakers or anyone involved in this space, any participant in this space, the ability to actually create the most impact because they're able to see everything now in one way where it almost feels like the system itself is almost engineered to be really difficult to parse through and like find this knowledge. And it's almost something that needs to be so transparent, has been opaque for so long.
Absolutely. I think bringing transparency to that, I think just it can lift all boats, but then also give the advantage to really think of how do I get ahead of this? And there was a couple of weeks ago, there was actually a story where a bill was passed and, some groups had worked together on the language and the bill sponsor knew that he or she pushed through this language, but in a real-time conversation actually couldn't remember which bill that pushed through on. And it was Roboro that was actually used to say, I don't remember the exact language. I don't remember which bill, but I know the concept. How can I think about that to understand where it flowed through and what impact that's going to have? And again, just being able to put it in the driver's seat, right? Being proactive rather than reactive, it just unlocks so much ability to spend time on building the change you want to see in your local community and in the global community from there.
So Paul, this might, it doesn't predate me, might you, it certainly does Sonali. But this is a free idea. This is copied. This is just for you, open license, but only for Roboro or you to use. Okay. So Sonali's out. Sorry. And if you remember back in the day, Schoolhouse Rock, I'm Just a Bill.
Hey, I know this song. Joe, you underestimate the American public school system playing on artifacts of the past. Very much still learning Schoolhouse Rock, for sure.
Anyways, the little one, I'm Just a Bill, you could do a Roboro version of that and do like modernize it in some kind of way. That's free.
Wow.
In charge. Say you come on the side quest, things happen.
Making the intro music with AI can make a rendition of that using AI. My mind's going wild right now.
And I do want to take a little commercial mention that because that took me all of 5 minutes to do, and I want to get credit for it. So I did use suno.com, typed in some notes about the side quest, and it came up with like a peppy little song, kind of a la Big Bang Theory intro. I used the instrumental version for the intro and outro of the side quest, and you can go listen to the full song with great lyrics. Through, I think if you go on wherever the story abstract is and some of the places you can see a link to it. So, okay, commercial over. See,
there you go.
Bonus of all ideas. So in terms of where Roboro is now, and obviously Sonali are a bit familiar with it because, Primordial Ventures is an investor and a very proud investor in what you guys are doing. But maybe give us a little bit of the sketch of the business in terms of where you're in Raleigh, like team, what stage you are, either from investment or whatever metric you want to say, however you want to define it.
Fantastic. I appreciate that. Absolutely. So we launched Roboro at the start of North Carolina's long session last year. So that was January 2025. Within the first 6 to 7 months of launching, we were working with a large majority of top lobbyists throughout North Carolina, and also a wide group of different types of segments and organizations, from private industry to public industry, and just a lot of great partners. that demand actually pulled us throughout the Southeast. So today we are live through most of the Southeast. And over the next couple months, we'll actually be launching across 50 plus federal and DC. And a big part of that is our team is lean and mighty, really brings together the best of applied AI and technology and decades experience there with decades of experience across government affairs and legislatures. So really bringing that together so we can make a product that understands the nuances and becomes mission critical in such a fast moving, massive industry. We've been growing about 30% each month since we launched. We are seeing really great engagement from our partners and really proud of the variety of groups we work with. And as I mentioned, that's driving us across the country where we're already active. And we're in the final stages wrapping up a current fundraising round, which will help us accelerate into what's working and continue to increase our footprints beyond that.
Very cool. Yeah.
Great. Thanks,
you guys
Paul.
are really busy. So we start off the show and we were talking about Sonali's 24th birthday. And I am always interested in terms of the path and the side quests and however people get to where they are. So maybe you can walk us through a little bit of how Paul of yesteryear became Paul of today and how you got there with a particular focus when you turned 24. Because that's the day. That's what's now.
Wow.
I want to really dig into it. I want all of it, but I really want that
24.
year in particular.
24.
Yeah.
I love it. That's great. Oh man, it's a good test of memory. Well, so I was born in New York originally. I spent a lot of my early childhood out in the Bay Area. My family had moved out to Silicon Valley. My father was in semiconductors and ended up moving us to the Valley for that. And I just grew up in a household of technology. My father was an entrepreneur, ended up taking a company public in Silicon Valley, and I always just was around some of that aspect.
Do you have a lot of gadgets at home? A lot of computery gadgets kicking around?
So a little bit, but it was more so my father led a lot of sales, business development, and different areas on strategy. So while there were some of the gadgets, a lot of it was about relationships around building kind of the different aspects and business acumen. And so I always grew up and that turned me into the weird high school kid that loved business and finance, right? Yep. And I was just one of the ones where I was fascinated with, we'll go to dating ourselves again, waking up and reading the newspaper and looking for the tickers of the stocks that I was trying to put $20 into and see how it did the day before.
I think Sonali's seen documentaries about that. It was
I think it was like the Ken Burns style of
back in the day. Of course, everything was black and white for it.
Of course, all black and white. But I went to school, ended up at Loyola Marymount in Los Angeles, and worked at KPMG. And I was focused on pre-IPO, post-IPO companies, KPMG Los Angeles, and just had fun building that, seeing variety. But my entrepreneur blood took over eventually. I wanted to roll up my sleeves and build something and solve real problems.
Are you past 24 now, or are you?
I can't confirm or deny, but I might be a little bit past it.
Okay.
So this is right around 24 is when I left KPMG. And I really just wanted to start to build. And I quickly realized it's less about the code and the technology that's super interesting to me, but more the application and the industry of that.
Yep.
And being that finance nerd, I remember saying, man, none of my friends want to talk about finance. Everyone's scared to talk about finance, but it impacts everyone, right? Shouldn't there be a better way to talk about this? Shouldn't there be technology that can help get people comfortable with something that's so foundational to all of our lives? And so I, spent some time in Silicon Valley as the CFO of a company called Credit Sesame that was in the credit space and built that. And then ultimately a lot of that came into kind of the Roboro founding story of me, Jenny, and James spending so much time in highly regulated industries. And right, think about legislation, same story, impacts everyone, a little bit opaque, a lot of bit opaque, and the ability to really come in and say we can make a difference. So, throughout my career, I think the one common thread has been, how do I go deep locally, support where we are locally, but make sure what we're building can have a global reach? And I'm so proud of the team we've assembled around that.
No, it's awesome. How did you all first connect?
Yeah, so Jenny and James, my two co-founders, they worked together for over a decade at a great company called Precision Lender that was here in North Carolina.
Wow,
with Carl Rydeen and Ken Garcia and the team there. And they were building and selling. So James was one of the first engineering hires. Jenny was one of the first executive sales hires, and they were building and selling together for over a decade. When Precision Lender had a successful exit, they said, hey, what if we get the band back together? My sister worked with Jenny at Max Point, another local company that had done an IPO. And that
are you in this area? Are you geographically, when did, not to jump around a little bit,
yeah.
When did you move to like Raleigh, Durham area?
I moved in 2019.
So not to get into it a little bit, but like your sister was already here, right, at 29, because Max Point wasn't,
yeah.
All right. And so, okay, somehow you guys got tied in, and then
absolutely. So my sister and her had worked together, and I always like this because it's a true representation of the healthy sibling love and rivalry. Jenny and James were doing a game of, if you could hire one person, who would it be? And they used to, I guess, do this throughout their career. And Jenny's one answer was my sister. And she said, but Lindsay, shout out International Dance Day. She runs a successful and tremendous dance studio, Starpath Dance, in Cary and Apex.
There you go.
My daughter goes there, great studio. And Jenny said, well, she's happy. She's doing well running her own business. But hey, she has a brother who I've heard's all right. And he's here too. We should talk to him.
That's amazing.
Well, I think that's not only a great story, it's a very insightful story. And the reason is, as we talk about how do we get more startups and more successful startups here, I think folks underestimate that when people start something, it's usually not their first rodeo. It might be their first rodeo starting something, but typically they've spent time in some other successful business in some kind of mid-level, maybe senior role. Then they got to do their own gig, and how valuable it is to have multiple options around to kind of nurture the next big thing. You know,
absolutely. I think it's so incredible, and a really testament to this community as well of building, leaning onto each other, and having that. I think you're spot on.
After meeting Jenny and James, who are some of the coolest, most intelligent, kind people I've ever met, when was the moment that you were like, okay, this is moving from this is interesting, kind of cool, to I'm all in, sign me up?
It's a great question. And I think the same of them. And thank you for that. Jenny and my kids both go to the same school. And one day I drop off, she said, hey, I'm working on something with a co-founder, would love to pick your brain over coffee. And I should have known Jenny is great at what she does. She's a great sales person as well. And so we sat down for a 30-minute coffee that ended up being 3 hours. Wow. And I left just saying, wow, I already knew Jenny's caliber, but this idea has so much ties to my MO and where I want to go deep locally, but make a global impact. And so the action item from that was, let's meet with James also. And my mind was just going between meetings. And when we met with James, I saw their dynamic together. I saw their caliber. And with James, honestly, he's such a great technical lead. But when I like to say, he's a business person, that's a really smart business person, that's very good technically. And so when I met that and went, okay, it's not an engineer that I'm explaining business to. This is a business person that is very good technically. I just immediately saw how our skills were all complementary to each other. Plus, we like to have fun. We like to solve big challenges. So after that second coffee, it was there was no going back from there.
Who paid for the coffee? Did they make you
pay?
That's
a great question. I am going to go back and look. We went Dutch.
That's awesome.
Well, I think it just speaks to how these startups and founders, it not that it's not scientific, but it really is just having a comfort level with people and all of these kind of informal connections, which lead to something much more, and how we need a great ecosystem to foster more and more those things.
Absolutely.
I noticed at the beginning of the podcast, Joe was reading a book. Like, I don't know what book that was specifically.
I also noticed that Paul didn't make any reference to it while we've been talking.
He was hoping we forgot about it.
It might be a sensitive point, but thanks, Sonali. Thanks for bringing that up.
Absolutely. I love it. Oh, man. No, what a good book. And I realize now where all your wisdom comes from.
But all my smarts.
Oh, it's amazing. So this beautiful lineup of books behind me. So that's so let's go slow-mo, the first of the series. Talk about side quests. Man, that was something that one day I got the itch, and I said, all right, I can't stop until I make a few books for my kids and all the kiddos I know. So that kept me busy for a while.
No, it's
So
very, very
amazing.
cool. It is appropriate. I mean, given the show is titled the Side Quests, and how, often little side quests or ideas or pursuits, they, in addition to being very fulfilling, can turn into just very interesting things.
Yeah.
So how many books did you do?
Yeah, and so I did 3 books that I've done thus far. Let's Go Slow-Mo, Lemon Sky Dream, and Where Do Christmas Trees Go? The 3 books that I have to make sure y'all get some copies of. But the side quest is the perfect parallel for it, because I always use my analytical brain, was a CFO, and I always liked writing music as a kid in different areas. But the running joke in my family is, open school night, or parents go in, they'd laugh because they'd walk in the classroom and immediately know which art was mine because it was the worst art on the wall. And as I started thinking about writing books for my kids, my wife's family is all amazing artists. They have, decades of experience across animation and art.
Oh.
And I thought, oh, this would be really fun. And maybe it's a way to use the creative side of my brain. So it's just something that started as buying an iPad and a pen and just kind of trying to teach myself how to do some stuff. It turned into something that ended up being a lot of fun and ways to tap into new parts of my brain that were so incredibly frustrating.
Where do you get your inspiration from?
Oh, it's a very good question. Just go with it. Whenever the inspiration hits from whatever I'm doing in life, I try and sit down and write with that. Slow-mo. I'm trying to even think where that came from. I think as I was preparing to have my first kid and daughter, was thinking about life lessons I hope they learn, and my love for animals, and something just kind of clicked and said, hey, I can have some fun with this.
That is very cool. Is that your main side quest now? Do you have other things that you're like tinkering around with as well?
Oh, it's a very good question. So I would say my first side quest is Raboro going wider. My second side quest is Raboro going deeper. My third side quest is Raboro all around. But no, absolutely. It's, always thinking about the artistic side of drawing, writing. I always love to do. We were, joking earlier, what you can't see in front of me is a bunch of musical instruments that I don't pick up often enough. But really just finding ways to incorporate that, not just as a hobby on the side, but incorporate that into some of my own values and goals, and how I conduct my life on a daily business is something I always try and do.
That's amazing. Which instruments do you have? I'm curious.
I have a bass guitar, an acoustic guitar, a drum set, and a piano, I think, are the 4 I have in here.
Wow. It's
That
incredible.
keeps you, I'm sure, very busy. So to kind of, wrap up the show a bit, we always like to give people an opportunity to give any final thoughts they want to share with our the Grit Beat podcast audience. Any final thoughts you want to share about Raboro or you, or just lessons out there to be learned?
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, just thank you both for having me on the show, and thank you to Primordial, to Grit Beat, to the side quest, to everything. I think as I talk with friends, family, colleagues across the country, across the globe, but especially here, you think about the examples of how you want to lead by example, whether it's for your peers or your team or your employees or your kids. And I think in so many ways, there's good ways to go about setting the right example. But I truly think that this group does such a good job of having the right conversations, promoting the right conversations, but also organically doing it, right? And getting the chance to work with both of you, work with Jen and others, and just see that every day it's building towards the North Star you've created. And I love that. What makes me love this community, and just appreciative for all you do.
Well, that's so sweet. Thank you, Paul. Incredibly kind.
Well, very good. Well, I want to thank you for joining this episode of the Side Quest. I'm sure we will kind of see you around the office and around the triangle some more, and look forward to working with you. And happy birthday, Sonali, as well. Enjoy
Thank
the rest of the day.
you. Thanks, guys.
Yay.
Good day.
All right. We'll see you later. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for joining. Be sure to follow us through your favorite podcast platform. Now get back to working on your side quest